dust on my windshield, sun going down. Old county highway outside of town. No radio playing, just tires on stone. And every mile feels like a road back home. I passed that old bar where I wasted years, heard laughter through windows and ghosts in my ears. There's something with calling beyond those lights, like heaven was waiting at the end of the night. Every wrong turn led me here somehow, down that gravel road back to grace, where mercy was waiting on my face. A little white church and a wooden cross, where a broken man laid his past to loss. Every mile of dust I drove led me where forgiveness grows. Yeah, every scar and every mistake brought me down that road back to grace. The front porch light shining through the evening mirror, past that church window I whispered a prayer. Felt something lift, like chains in my chest. For the first time in years, my soul could rest. Some roads lead nowhere, but there's one led home, down that gravel road back to grace, where mercy was waiting on my face. Little white church and a wooden cross, where a broken man laid his past to loss. Every mile of dust I drove led me where forgiveness grows. Every scar and every mistake brought me down that road back to grace. If redemption had a highway sign, it'd point to that road in my mind, down that gravel road back to grace, where heaven finally called my name. A little white church and a wooden cross, where the old me finally got lost. Every mile of dust I drove led me where forgiveness grows. Yeah, every scar and every mistake brought me down that road back to grace. Oh. Two miles past the county line, there's a church on a hill. Paint peeling off the siding, but the porch light's burning still. Cross above the rooftop, flickering in the dark. like heaven left a lighthouse for a wandering heart. I drove past that gravel lot 100 times or more, too busy chasing trouble down every back road door. But something about that neon cross cut through the night, like God was waving mercy in that broken light. Every sinner needs a sign somewhere down the road. That church with the flickering cross saved a soul like mine, shining through the darkness on a lost man's county line. I pulled into that gravel lot with more regret than prayer, but somewhere in that silence I felt heaven waiting there. Yeah, that church with a flickering cross brought this sinner home to life. Sat down on a wooden pew, dust dancing in the air, and for the first time in years I whispered out a prayer, and the quiet felt like mercy falling from the sky. That church with the flickering cross saved a soul like mine, shining through the darkness on a lost man's county line. I pulled into that gravel lot with more regret than prayer, but somewhere in that silence I felt heaven waiting there. If grace had a street light, it'd shine just like that. That church with a flickering cross lit the road I couldn't see, somewhere between that broken night and the man I meant to be. Yeah, that church with a flickering cross still shines for souls like me. Mama's house still stands there at the end of Maple Lane. Front porch lights still shining through the Carolina rain. And every Sunday morning she bows her head again, praying heaven doesn't give up on her son's sins. I've put 1,000 miles between that porch and me, chasing down the devil on roads I shouldn't see. But every time I stumble, grace appears, like her whispered prayers are louder than my fears. I can almost hear her calling out my name. Mama still prays for this old sinner every night before she sleeps, asking God to guide my footsteps on these wandering country streets. She believes there's still redemption for a heart as lost as mine. Mama still prays for this old sinner, and I thank the Lord she does tonight. Someday I'll go back up in that gravel drive again, lay this burden down and walk inside forgiven. 'Cause mercy's never far when love won't let you fall. Mama still prays for this old sinner every night before she sleeps, asking God to guide my footsteps on these wandering country streets. She believes there's still redemption for a heart as lost as mine. Mama still prays for this old sinner, and I thank the Lord she does heaven's keeping count of every prayer she said. There's a million angels standing by my bed. Mama still prays for this old sinner, even when the road runs on. And I know those prayers are why I'm still holding on. She believes there's still redemption for a heart as lost as mine. Mama still prays for this old sinner, and someday I'll make her proud this time. Quarter past midnight on Highway 49, neon buzzing over a crooked yellow sign. Truck stop coffee burning in my hand, devil in the mirror staring at that man. Years of bad decisions riding in that seat, every mile of regret rolling under me. But that old church radio started crackling through, saying about forgiveness like it knew what I'd been through. Standing under that gas station light, felt heaven pulling on my life. I left the devil at that gas station, under those flickering neon lights. Dropped my pants beside pump number 7, somewhere in the middle of the night. Walked back to my truck, a new man, with mercy riding shotgun again. Yeah, I left the devil at that gas station, and I ain't picking him up again. Threw my last bottle in a rusted trash can, watched it shatter like the ghost of who I'd been. Started up that engine, heard the gravel spin, and a quiet voice whisper, "Son, welcome back again." Yeah, every road looked different under heaven's light. I left the devil at that gas station, under those flickering neon lights. Dropped my pants beside pump number 7, somewhere in the middle of the night. Walked back to my truck, a new man, with mercy riding shotgun again. Yeah, I left the devil at that gas station, and I ain't picking him up again. Every mile I drive feels lighter than before, 'cause that demon ain't riding in my passenger door. I left the devil at that station, under those flickering neon lights. Lift every sin that was chasing me, standing in that midnight light. Walk back to my truck, forgiven. Heaven shouted through the rain. Yeah, I left the devil at that gas station, and I ain't going back It was somewhere past midnight on a cold 2-lane road. Neon lights in my rear view, and a heart that felt alone. Radio playing a sad song about a man like me, running from his past and the man he used to be. Mama's voice in my memory saying, son, don't run too far. You can lose yourself in darkness, chasing neon in the bars. Rain falling on the highway, wipers keeping time. When a little church cross started shining through the night, and I swear the world got quiet, like heaven held its breath. Jesus was riding shotgun that night on that broken back road drive, when my headlights found that little white church shining in the rain so bright. I pulled over shaking, fell down on my knees, somewhere between that gravel road and mercy finding me. Yeah, I wasn't driving alone through that storm and neon light. Jesus was riding shotgun that night. Now the battle's long gone empty, and that road still calls my name. But every mile I travel now, I whisper out his name. 'Cause grace didn't find a sinner on the darkest road alive. Jesus was riding shotgun that night on that broken back road drive, when my headlights found that little white church shining in the rain so bright. I pulled over shaking, fell down on my knees, somewhere between that gravel road and mercy finding me. Yeah, I wasn't driving alone through that storm and neon light. Jesus was riding shotgun that heavy road I wander, heavy light across the sky. I remember that cold midnight when heaven changed my life. Jesus was riding shotgun that night on that lost man's desperate ride, when my headlight found salvation, burning like a guiding light. And every mile I travel now feels different in my soul, 'cause somewhere on that gravel road he took back my control. Yeah, I wasn't drowning alone through that storm and neon light. Jesus was riding shotgun that night. I've worn down these highways with a tank full of regret. Every mile behind me is a bad decision I can't forget. Broken mirrors in truck stops, old sins and motel lights. But mercy keeps chasing me down these back road nights. Mama said redemption don't run on a clock. Sometimes it finds you in a gravel parking lot. I've been down to the bottom and back again, but grace keeps whispering, son, this ain't the end. Every scar on my soul is proof I'm still breathing. God ain't done with me yet, even after all my mistakes. Through the miles and the midnight and the chances I waste. Every road that I wrecked, every bridge that I burned, still somehow His mercy keeps bringing me back to the turn. Yeah, the devil tried hard, but he ain't won the bet, 'cause God ain't done with me yet. I pulled off a highway where the stars filled the sky. Said a prayer out loud for the first time in my life, and the silence answered like heaven was near. God ain't done with me yet, even after all my mistakes. Through the miles and the midnight and the chances I waste. Every road that I wrecked, every bridge that I burned, still somehow His mercy keeps bringing me back to the turn. Yeah, the devil's tried hard, but he ain't won a bit, 'cause God ain't done with me yet. Grace had a steering wheel, I'd follow where it led. God ain't done with me yet, even after all my mistakes. Through the storms and the long roads and the risks that I take, every mile I keep driving is a prayer heaven heard. Every devil lost that battle the night I found His word. Yeah, the road's still long, but I ain't finished yet, 'cause God ain't done with me There's an old King James on my dashboard now, where a whiskey bottle used to ride around. Pages worn and faded from the miles I drove back when I was running from the man I know. Mama used to tell me, son, you'll understand, every road gets lonely when you're far from him. Now that little Bible rides beside my wheel, every mile reminds me grace is something real. Every red light prayer, every highway line, there's a Bible on my dashboard where the Bible used to be. Every time I hit the highway, he keeps riding next to me. Through the storms and through the long nights, down these back roads that I know, there's a Bible on my dashboard, and it's guiding where I go. Sometimes when the road gets heavy on my soul, I pull off the shoulder and let his words unfold. 'Cause mercy meets a sinner right where he stands. There's a Bible on my dashboard where the Bible used to be. Every time I hit the highway, you keep riding next to me. Through the storms and through the long nights, down these back roads that I know, there's a Bible on my dashboard, and it's guiding where I go. Chase the darkness down every county line. Now heaven rides beside me every mile I drive. There's a Bible on my dashboard where the Bible used to be. Every mile that I keep driving feels like mercy rescuing me. Through the storms and through the long nights, down these back roads that I know, there's a Bible on my dashboard, and it's guiding where I go. Rain on the windshield, 2 lanes in a storm, headlights cutting through the dark like a warning horn, wipers keeping rhythm to a heart full of shame, and every mile of highway still whispered my name. Hold onto the shoulder where the gravel meets the line, truck engine humming like a troubled mind, lightning in the distance, thunder rolling slow, and for the first time ever, I didn't know where to go. Hands on the wheel, eyes on the sky. My chest felt light, like chains were breaking loose in that stormy night. And the road ahead didn't feel the same. I said a prayer between two headlights on a lonely county road, asking God to guide the life I almost let go. Through the thunder and the silence, through the miles I run, somewhere in that stormy night, my redemption. I said a prayer between two headlights. I said a prayer between two headlights on that empty midnight road. In heaven heard the whisper of a lost man's soul. Through the thunder and the signs, to the miles I run, somewhere in that stormy night, my redemption had begun. Engine humming low on a midnight interstate, radio whispering songs about mistakes. I'd been chasing shadows down every broken street, never knowing grace was right next to me. Miles of empty highway under neon skies, 1,000 wrong decisions looking through my eyes. But somewhere in that silence, between doubt and regret, I felt a quiet mercy I'll never forget. Sometimes heaven finds you when you least expect. Grace was sitting in my passenger seat. Through every mile I ran, when I thought I was alone in the dark, God still had a plan. Through the storms and my long roads, through every broken dream, grace was sitting in my passenger seat, waiting there for me. Holding to a church lot under yellow light, seat. Every mile of that ride, when the road finally led me home, he was right there by my side. Through the storms and the long roads, through the nights I couldn't see, Lace was sitting in my passenger seat, saving a soul like me. Sun coming up on a worn out highway, coffee in the cup holder, miles behind me. There's 1,000 bad decisions in that rear view glass, but every mile forward leaves them in the past. Used to chase the neon in every small town bar, looking for redemption at the bottom of a jar. But somewhere down that highway, grace changed my direction, turned a broken sinner toward a new reflection. Every mile I drive feels lighter than before. The man in my rearview mirror ain't the man I am today. God took that broken driver and showed him a better way. Through the storms and the miles, through the mistakes I made, the man in my rearview mirror is finally starting to fade. Pull into a church lot at the edge of town, heard a choir sing. As the sun went down, and I felt forgiveness like rain on my soul. The man in my rearview mirror ain't the man I am today. God took that broken driver and showed him a better way. Through the storms and the miles, through the mistakes I made, the man in my rearview mirror is finally starting to If mercy had a highway, I'm driving it tonight. The man in my rearview mirror is someone I barely know, 'cause grace keeps pushing forward every mile I go. Through the storms and the miles, through the mistakes I made, the man in my rearview mirror is finally starting to fade. white building on the edge of town, paint peeling off, but the cross still shines down. I drove past that place most of my life, too busy chasing trouble through the neon nights. But one Sunday morning, with a heart full of shame, I walked through those doors just to whisper his name. Old wooden pews and a choir singing loud, and I felt something holy in that small southern crowd. Sometimes redemption waits in simple places. That's the church where heaven found me on a broken sinner's day, where mercy met my heart and washed my past away. Through the songs and the prayers, through the tears that fell, that little church where heaven found me saved my soul from hell. Now every Sunday when that choir sings, I remember the moment grace found me, and the road behind me ain't the same anymore. That's the church where heaven found me on a broken sinner's day, where mercy met my heart and washed my past away. Through the songs and the prayers, through the tears that fell, that little church where heaven found me saved my soul from hell. If it ever should had an address, it'd be that gravel line. That's the church where heaven found me, where a lost man finally prayed, and the chains I carried finally broke away. Through the songs and the prayers, through the tears that fell, that little church where heaven found me saved my soul from hell. Save my soul from rain falling heavy on a lonely two-lane road, headlights cutting shadows through a midnight glow. Every mile behind me full of old mistakes, every mile ahead felt like it was too late. Pulled off by feet under a broken sign, sat there in the silence with regret on my mind. And somewhere in that darkness, through the pouring rain, I whispered out a prayer, calling Jesus' name. And the storm kept rolling, but my heart stood still. That mercy found a sinner. Was nowhere left to go. Through the thunder and the silence, through the tears I cried. That was the night heaven answered my headlights and turned my life around. Started up that engine, but the road felt new. Like a man behind the wheel is someone heaven knew. And the miles ahead finally felt like home. That was the night heaven answered my headlights on a lost man's road. When mercy found a sinner with nowhere left to go. Through the thunder and the silence, through the tears I cried. That was the night heaven answered my headlights and turned my life around. Sometimes redemption shows up in the rain. That was the night heaven answered my headlights on a broken county line. And somewhere in that darkness, God finally found my life. Through the thunder and the silence, through the tears I cried. That was the night heaven answered my headlights and saved a soul like mine.